Well, I think I'm more excited than I've ever been before. Again, I've turned off the chat for everyone else so that we can really dig in and pay attention to what's going to happen today. And I'm so glad you've missed us. We have originally been doing webinars every Tuesday, and we are now going to a different model so that we can dig in a lot deeper. The 7-minute life is morphing. We're having a lot of things that are changing and a lot of things that are coming alive. And so if you're new to the 7-minute life, oh my goodness, I cannot believe how many people have joined us on this class today. How exciting. Big shout out to all of those of you who have been involved with the 7-minute life for a long time, and a humongous shout out to those people that are coming in that are new to the 7-minute life. So I'm just amazed and excited about what's going to be happening today. Well, I'm coming to you from Jonesboro, Arkansas. We had the solar eclipse here. We had an 85% solar eclipse. It was one of the coolest things. And I did take time off work to see that amazing event in life. So I think we have to be ready to slow down long enough to get started. If you're new to the 7-minute life, I want to kind of give you a background or a history of it. The 7-minute life, I started back in, 1993 for myself. And it started with one single sheet of paper, and that was the daily progress report. And the daily progress report looked like this. And the key to the daily progress report was that I had been a financial advisor for 30 years. And I was a great salesman. I was incredibly creative, but I was living in chaos. I mean, absolutely, I would walk in and my desk would be piled to the ceiling, and I'd have so many things going on that I was completely overwhelmed. And all of a sudden, my life started getting harder and harder. Now, I'll be able to see you come into the chat, but I've turned off the chat for everyone else. So if I hit a chord and you want to say, amen, sister, feel free, because I will be able to see your chat. So here I was. I had been a financial advisor since I was 22 years old. I was in the industry for 30 years. And I realized that I needed something to put my brain back on track. I think for all of us, if we're logging into this webinar, we've reached a point in our life where time has become more precious. We've hit a point where we want more out of life, that we want our lives to be simpler. We want our lives to be more organized. We want it to feel like we'll come into the office with a written plan of action, something more than a to-do list, and that we'll actually be able to mark things off piece by piece by piece, so that at the end of the day, we will have felt like we've progressed through something positively. So if that sounds like you, go ahead and put yes in the chat, because I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So as we back up again, the 7-minute life, I see everybody coming in, love it. The 7-minute life is a time management company, and our tagline is that we're a time management company for people who are overwhelmed. And I think that speaks so loudly to all of us. And it's more than that. The people that are coming to the 7-minute life don't want to not just be overwhelmed. They want to create some kind of platform, a repeatable process and system, so that they can get things done, but so that they also have time to create a life with meaning. I think that's what makes the 7-minute life different. Is yes, I want to use tools that can help me get more things done. I want to be able to walk into the office and say, okay, here are the 5 things that I'm going to accomplish before 11 a.m. We'll talk about that a little bit today. And I want to be able to, look at the end of the day, and this is the key question, is right here. The key question at the end of the day is, did I do what I said I would do today? Did I do what I said I would do today? I think that's where the pain comes in, is when we walk in with this crazy, huge to-do list and we don't seem to get any of it done. So today we're going to be moving into, oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I want to welcome everyone to this. The 7-Minute Life has realized that people are, getting to know our tools. They're investing in their time and looking at our free downloadable tools. They're buying their copies of the 7-Minute Life Daily Planner. They've had our tools for months or maybe years, but we've never given you the opportunity to take a deep dive into learning how to use these tools that I began to create in 1993, how to use them to get yourself out of being overwhelmed. Not just to kind of know how to use them, but to really use them. So today I'm going to go into a deep dive on how you can tear up your to-do list. And I don't want to speak badly about a to-do list because that's where everything starts. But today I'm going to revolutionize your relationship with your to-do list. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we're going to get started. Now, if you have not had a chance to go in, I'm going to put this up one more time. You may want to go to the 7minutelife.com / and type in worksheets and then today's date, 08/22/17. If you'd like to go to the 7minutelife.com / worksheets, 08/22/17. So let me put that into the chat. The 7minutelife.com. That way you'll be able to open the chat. Worksheets 08/22/17. Okay, so you should be able to download those. We're going to be talking about three worksheets today, and they're all important, but we're going to begin with the time management assessment that I hope you've had a chance to take. We're going to walk you through that. And so this is just kind of a plumb line to see where you are. But these two worksheets, the to-do list, and I hope you're taking notes because this is going to be very exciting, and the 15-minute increment worksheet are the two sheets that we're going to be talking about. And my promise to you today is by the end of this webinar, you're going to have an incredibly different understanding of how the to-do list that you may be using now is not working and how you can create a much better and much more realistic worksheet. Hang on one second. Let me see if I can send that to everyone. Thank you. To all panelists and attendees. All right, so it's the 7minutelife.com / worksheets 08/22/17. There. Now I want to make sure that you can see it. If you will say, yes, now I see it. So, all right, we're going to move on. Great, 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 great. Yes, see it and have them all. Okay, so here we go. As you know, what we're doing now is that we are creating a class that is called the 7-Minute Life Essentials Training Course. This class is going to be replacing a lot of the webinars that we were doing. People were coming online with the webinars and they were taking notes, but they didn't have all the tools that they needed to really implement this. And so what you're going to see today is the first session of that class. And before we get to talking about that, I want to talk about this time management assessment tool. If you've downloaded this tool, you will see something that looks like this. It says time management assessment, and I love what it says up here as we begin to go through this. This is what it says at the top. It says time management assessment. And I'm not sure if you can see that but the 7-Minute Life is a time management company for people who are overwhelmed. And then it says your personal time management skills affect every aspect of life. And that is so true. If we're overwhelmed, it bleeds into everything else about our life. It affects our success at work to living a life with purpose and passion. So we're going to use this assessment to review your strengths and areas of challenge in your own time management skills. So this is a little bit of a loaded question. Even when I took this, I was, it's pretty obvious that we all need to improve our time management. So as you're looking at this first, I have excellent time management skills. Where are you on a scale from nope, I don't have any time management skills to really, I am perfect at my time management? How productive do you feel at the end of the day? Are you getting those things done, or do you walk into the office and you feel like you get nothing done? So as you go through this, do you work from a written daily plan of action? In the morning, do you come into your office with clear goals of what you want to accomplish? Do you know those first steps, the first thing you're going to accomplish, the second thing you're going to accomplish? As you look at this time management assessment, are you looking for an opportunity to use checklists, templates, and repeatable processes to increase your efficiency? That's what I've done with the 7-Minute Life, is that for those of you that know me, I was in this space where it was impossible for me to get everything done. I needed to create these guardrails to help me. You arrive on time for your appointments. Is it unusual for you to wait until the last minute? And this is where we're going to come into the to-do list. When you have a to-do list for your day, do you overestimate the number of tasks you can get done in a day? So if you looked at your to-do list today and you saw how many things were on there, how many of those things will you actually get done? Do you complete your projects on time? Can you quickly find the files, even finding the paper? I'm likely to spend my time completing high-value activities that move me forward towards my goals. This is one of the things we're going to be talking about today, those high-value activities. I rarely spend time on low priorities, and I'm passionate about my work. So all of those things, as we scale ourselves, are you using checklists? It's kind of a yes or no. Are you arriving on time? For me, do I overestimate the number of tasks? Do I never? No, we all do these things. So this assessment, if you've downloaded it from the Worksheets 08-17, anyway, we'll get that back to you. But these are the kind of things. So the assessment goes on. There are problems and obstacles that we all face. These are the pain points that we have. And if you're on these classes and you've been coming to them for a long time, these pain points cause us to be anxious and stressed. These are the things that we deal with that I'm going to try to solve for you. Even today, I'm going to help you not have too much to do. So let's just dive right in. When you've come today, I hope that your goal for the 7-Minute Life is to learn how to tear up your to-do list. If it's not working, we got to fix it. And we're going to fix it by teaching you to use the 15-minute increment worksheet. These are tools that are really key to what we're doing. I'm going to give you just a moment here to look at this so that if you have not yet downloaded them, you can download the worksheets, and I'll put it in chat one more time. You can download the worksheets if you're looking for them. It's at the7minutelife.com/worksheets. And then today's date, 08/22/17. So I want to make sure everyone can download the worksheets for today's webinar. All right, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to ask and help you understand is that piece of paper that you've got that's handwritten on some back of an envelope is a to-do list, but it's not probably working for you. Now, a to-do list is the number one thing that you will need to have proper time management. So when you're working with a to-do list, this is really important, but the way that most people are planning their time is not working. In the next few minutes, you will see how to create a powerful to-do list and how to make those things happen. Now, if you pulled out your smartphone this morning, and I'm going to use this day as an example, some kind of smartphone, or you pulled up your electronic calendar, we all turn to these tools, which is important to see what we have to do that day. So we have two things when we start in the morning. We have some type of to-do list, and for many of us, that's written on Post-it notes. We actually staple notes to our car keys. If you're guilty of that, feel free to put it in chat. I do that. Or we have random lists on the back of envelopes. You know, all of these are what we call peripheral brains because we don't want to forget things. So what most people do is they wake up in the morning and they look at their calendar on their smartphone, and then they have a to-do list, which is not only a to-do list, but it's also a don't forget to do list. Don't forget to pick up the milk. So this is an important thing, but these Post-it notes, staplers, and envelopes are not helpful. Let me show you what April 12th looked like for me. And I know it's going to be a little bit hard to see, but I'll walk you through this. I pulled up my smartphone and I had several appointments. I had one appointment from 9 to 10, a second appointment from 10 to 11:30. I had a lunch from 12 to 1. And I had a collaboration meeting from 6:30 until 8 o'clock. So this was not really too bad of a day. I had a replay of a webinar that I needed to complete, and I thought that would take me about 45 minutes. I had to work on a PowerPoint presentation that I assumed would take me an hour and a half. I was going to have a 1-hour lunch with a friend, so this was a 1-hour lunch. And I had scheduled a 1.5-hour meeting at the end of the day. As you're looking at my list, I'd like you to pick up your smartphone or device and think about what your calendar looked like today. I'm guessing that your calendar, your actual smartphone device, looks something like this. Well, our smartphones have a problem. With time management, what a smartphone does is it only creates a place for you to put a label. This was a label. From 12 to 1, I was going to have lunch. That's just a placeholder. From 9 to 10, I said I was going to send a video replay out. I had said it was going to take me 45 minutes. I had scheduled or blocked time on my calendar to take care of this task, but it was only a placeholder. There was no commitment to accomplish that. I had just said I would do this. In fact, I would probably said this is on my to-do list. I would like to do it from 9 to 10:45. Let me show you the to-do list that I had created. This is one of the forms that you'll have. It is what we call a better to-do list. And the reason it is a better to-do list is that in the evening, I said, remember that the number one thing that we need is a to-do list. We have to get things out of our mind and put them on our to-do list so that we can have a list, not only of the things that we need to do, but also of the things that we don't want to forget to do. And I'm going to show you how to funnel that down. So on this day, this was my to-do list. You know, the night before I had taken time to create this. And so here are the things that I'd said. In the evening, I took 7 minutes, and that's where the 7-minute life comes from. I'd taken 7 minutes to think about all the things that I needed to do, to plan, to decide, and to choose. You know, I know that time is a limited commodity. We only have 24 hours of the day. And unfortunately, we try to put so many things into our day that we just can't. So in the evening, I did what we lovingly call a brain dump. And I wrote down what I felt like I needed to do. And this is what the list looked like. I had to schedule time to film the final class video for a class I was teaching. I needed to send a webinar replay out to attendees that had attended a webinar like this. I had a huge proposal that I was working on, and I needed just to plan the meeting with that person, not complete the proposal. I had to work on a class that I was teaching for investment news. I had to finish those PowerPoint slides. I was going to pick up new glasses, exercise. I'm a constant student, so I was going to finish research regarding the science of procrastination. That's a class that's going to be coming up in one of our master classes. It's a huge thing. I was having this 1-hour lunch about working on human resources, continuing education credits. I had a problem with one of the platforms I needed. I just needed to send a support ticket. Of course, I needed groceries and I needed to have some clothes altered. And then I had this 6:30 meeting with my collaborators. So this didn't look too bad. And I'm guessing that your to-do list would look something like this. Well, this is your standard to-do list where you write things down. The second step that I want to teach you is that we have to prioritize those things. And that's where it kind of falls apart, is that we write down what we need to do, but we don't take it 2 steps farther. So as you download and use this to-do list, after you've written down the things that you need to do, the second step is then to prioritize them. So this is the same list that I had created. I'd taken my 7 minutes to create this. I'd realized that there's a limited amount of time. So I then began to prioritize them. Now these 2 black slashes, these are what I call pre-scripted pieces. Molly just walked in. You may want to work in the other room.
Yeah, I'm already set up.
Because we have a ton of people on this call. So I'm happy that Molly is here. These are pre-scripted blocks of time. So they are hard stop. The lunch that I had, I was going to have to leave the evening, and the milestone meeting was a hard stop. Those things were hard stops. I couldn't change those. So outside of those, I then said my number 1 priority was to work on these slides. They were due the next day. This was my second priority, to send the webinar. The third was to create that support ticket for Teachable, because I couldn't use my systems. My fourth priority was to plan the meeting with Jessica Kay. This was a huge, huge opportunity for my business, and all I needed to do was plan the meeting. The fifth was to schedule time to film a final video class. And if I had time, I wanted to finish this research regarding the science of procrastination. Now, as the day went on, I realized that in addition to the tasks that I had, I also needed to make some phone calls. I needed to call Celia, Patsy, and Sam. All of these things kind of come together. Now, step 1, this is what most people do, is that they have their to-do list. What we don't do is we don't prioritize those things. And this is where it gets kind of exciting. This is where the 7-minute life is going to change what you're doing. How long is each task going to take for you to start and completely finish? How long is each task going to take you to start and completely finish? Now, as you look at some of these things, you can see that, let me clear this off, you can see that some of these things are going to take a ton of time. Finish the research, well, my goodness, that could take 2 days. You know, we have things on our to-do list that can't possibly be done. It should have said start the research, you know, or continue the research. So the second step is to create how long. So this is what I did on that day. I took a reality check, and that's why this is a better to-do list. If this was the number one thing, hang on one second. If this was the number one thing that I said I needed to do, work on the investment news PowerPoint slides, I then estimated that project would take me an hour and a half to complete. So now for the first time, not only did I know what was on my to-do list, I knew what the number one thing, so I had this priority, the vision. I could make a commitment, which is a real key. What are you really going to commit to do? What do you know has to be done today that you have a hard stop deadline that you're going to get done? This was the one thing that I had to complete. That was going to take an hour and a half. The second thing was to send out this webinar. Now, I assumed that would take about 45 minutes. I think you see where this is going. The third task that I had to do was to send in a support ticket. Now, that doesn't take very long, so that was assuming to take me 10 minutes. The fourth thing was just to plan the meeting. I didn't have to attend the meeting. I just needed to create the agenda. I assumed that would take 15 minutes. Schedule the time, not actually film it, but to schedule time to film it. I assume that'd take 20 minutes. And you can see where all of this is going. Finish the research, I said 45 minutes. Well, that's crazy. It would probably take me 2 days to a week to do that. Now, I also had these hard stops. I had a lunch meeting that is scheduled for an hour, and I had an evening event milestone that was supposed to last an hour to an hour and a half. Now, that did not include the fact that I had absolutely no food in my house, which I'd assume would take 45 minutes. I also needed to go pick up the clothes that I was going to go teach a class in 2 days. I assumed that would take 30 minutes. Of course, I didn't have time to exercise or get my new glasses. So the things that I needed to do for me, I couldn't do, but I'd estimated all these things. Now, when you do this, the total estimated time I needed to accomplish this to-do list using a realistic platform of saying, here's how long I think it will take, came up to be 9 hours and 30 minutes. This is where I think the 7-minute life can really help you. When we create these to-do lists that have all these things that really do need to get done, I really did need to finish these PowerPoint slides. They were due the next day. I really did need to send out the webinar replay because I had made commitments to do that. These are things I really did need to do. I had made lunch plans. I had created a time for a class. How many things are on your to-do list right now that we haven't prioritized, that we have no idea how long these things are going to take? And if we were to do that, this was eye-opening every day when I'm working on things, we can quickly see that the amount of time we need to accomplish this to-do list is completely and outrageous an overassumption. We overestimate how much time it's going to take to complete a to-do list. And why is that important? That's important because when we create these to-do lists and are not able to humanly get it done even, these things roll over to, well, I guess I should go, these things roll over to the next day, and we have a bigger to-do list, and then to the next day, and then to the next day, and then to the next day. So all of these things compound on each other, and that becomes an enormous problem. Well, how do we solve that? And I'm not sure that everyone here has the 15-minute increment tracking sheet, but this is, I believe, the first step of where we can go. This was my to-do list. Again, I'd taken 7 minutes in the evening to brainstorm about everything I needed to do. I then prioritized which tasks I would do first, what were the most important. The third step was that I created how long I can estimate each one of these would take. In doing this process and adding it up, I realized I had attempted to do too many things. There's no way I could complete 9 hours and 30 minutes worth of work. So using the 15-minute increment tracking sheet, this is what I think will help you understand and see that visual piece. This was the first thing I said I would do. Well, this was the first thing I said I would do. The number one thing was to complete these slides. I put it in my day where I am the most alert, most excited. It's from like 10 o'clock until noon. I have all this energy. So I'd scheduled the most important thing here. This looks a lot like my smartphone. I'd also scheduled, it looks like 30 minutes, 45 minutes to send out the replay. I knew I had a lunch meeting from 12 to 1, and I knew that I had this class from 6:30 to 7:30. So it looked like I had a ton of open time to get these things done. I had a ton of open time. I had from 1 until 6, which is 5 hours. That's why we look at our classes and think our days and we think we have a ton of time. But I had this block of 5 hours to do 9.5 hours worth of work. That's why this 15-minute increment tracking sheet can help you make more realistic decisions of what you're going to let into your day. So this is when I'm most alert. I try to plan things that have to be done right in that sweet spot. Like right now, I'm teaching this webinar when I'm most alert. I put these things on my calendar. So this is a great step, but let me show you what actually happened. This is the very same piece. On this side of the 15-minute increment tracking sheet, this is where you plan how long things are going to take, and this is the actual outcome of what really happened. So this is what actually happened. I had said from 9 to 9:30, I would send out a video replay to the attendees. Here's what really happened. I walked into my office and I had email and I had an unexpected phone call that led me down to take care of something that someone else needed. And all of a sudden I had lost track of time. And in that entire, what would that be, an hour and 45 minutes, so 1 3/4 hour, I had no idea of what else I worked on. I know that you can chat. I'm seeing it come in. If this happens to you where you've got something that you said, this was the number 2 thing on my to-do list. This is what I said I would do, but all of a sudden I walk in, I look at my email, and now I'm down a rabbit hole, and this does not get done. Okay, so I look at it and I think, no worries, I will do it later. At 10 o'clock, I had to do these slides. They were due tomorrow. They were due the next day. There was nothing else I could do. I had to have these things done. So I'd scheduled an hour and a half on my calendar. Now remember, on my smartphone, this is nothing more than a label. How many things do you put where you block off time on your smartphone? It's truly nothing more than a placeholder. You know, you've said, I hope to get it done there. I need to get it done there. But that's all it is. But I knew it was important. So at 10 o'clock, I started working on it. It was due the next day, but I was only about 30, 45 minutes where I just said, hey, I've spent this 45 minutes on planning what I needed to do to complete the PowerPoint slide. I didn't come in with a plan. This thing was a huge project, and I was trying to do it as a to-do. So for the first 45 minutes, I was just trying to figure out what I needed to do. And that just absolutely has to hit a nerve. So now my number one thing did not even get really started because all I did was sit down and realize that I hadn't done any planning. So I wasted this 45 minutes. And so now my number one and my number two things had not been getting done. I was overwhelmed. So now it's lunchtime. I'd scheduled this lunch for an hour. It was on my smartphone, but that's not what happened. I left at 11 o'clock. I left at 11 o'clock because I needed to put gas in my car. I wouldn't be able to make it to my lunch. So I had already gotten frustrated not being able to do this number one project because it was not something I could take action on. It was something that was called a project that I needed to break down into steps. And unfortunately, I had put it in as a label, and that label, I had not done any planning to be able to take action on it. So by the time I hit 45 minutes, I was frustrated and exhausted. I decided, hey, it's more valuable for me to leave early and go put gas in my car so that I can go have lunch. Well, I also had drive time that I had not accounted for in my label. So I got to lunch, and not only did we do our work, but we had a lot of fun because we're friends. And so by the time I made it home, it was now 1:30, 1:45. This is what ended up happening. I ended up with a block of time of this amount, 3 hours and 30 minutes, and I had more than 9.5 hours worth of work on my to-do list. I'd like to have you chat about what we're talking about. Let me know if this is something that is hitting home with you. We're having people come in every day. Yep, this is hitting a nerve. I can totally relate. This is how our life is. And so we've gone from this to-do list into things that we can't do. Now, this is a real day for me. It actually is, because even I struggle with this. Well, this was the meeting that started from 6:30 to 7:30, but I hadn't planned that I needed to spend 30 minutes prepping for the class. And then the call lasted more than 30 minutes. Again, why? Because we're friends. Not only are we collaborators, and that's fine. I want to work with my friends. But let's go back. This is what you've been using as a to-do list. Most people write down what they need to do. We miss the step that we have to prioritize those things. Then we have to create how long they're going to take. When you do that, you can realize in this day, I said I had 9 hours and 30 minutes worth of work. I then go back on my 15-minute increment and I put in my hard stops. This was number one. This was number one. This was number two. And these were hard stop placeholders. By doing this, I can realize that my time is limited. Now, when your time is limited, we then need to create a new, and this is the key, we need to create a new relationship with our to-do list. We've got to be able to create something that is going to work. You know, it doesn't make any difference if we have something that's not working. That's why we have to take the to-do list and we have to bring in new repeatable tools. It's these new repeatable tools that can help you now stop overestimating. And we still do it. I mean, but now I'm much more aware. We stop overestimating that we can get 9.5 hours worth of work done in 3 hours. And instead of walking into a project like this, where we have it on our to-do list, we can realize that this is now a project that needs to be broken down into steps that we can actually take action on. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this class, is how do you fix some of these things? How do you use these tools in a more efficient way? Because once I've created this platform and I've said it's only going to take me an hour and a half to create this project, when in reality it ended up taking me more than 4 hours, including the planning, the next time I have to create a new presentation. Instead of saying it will take me an hour and a half, I can schedule 4 hours to do that. And I can realize that I actually can't pay attention for 4 hours in one setting. So I can put, 45 minutes here, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes here, and I can schedule to get that done when I'm not overwhelmed. Now that has to make sense for me. Do I do it all the time? No, but by using these tools, and that's where it gets exciting, by using these tools properly, they become predictive. The power of the 7-minute life is that we can become consciously aware of what we call the default behaviors that we've been using in the past. How often do we walk in with a to-do list with 15 things on it? We have these default behaviors, and what's crazy about it is that we do it for day after day after day. I'm 57 years old, and for days, I still write things on your palm of your hand. You put things and you tape it to your front door. We have these to-do list behaviors that have never worked, but because they are familiar, we default back to them. By using the new tools, the 7-minute life, 15-minute increment worksheet, we can learn, in other words, we can begin to predict how long things will take. Two things happen here with the 7-minute life. Number one, I can learn that it's important to plan, but I can no longer just use labels. A label estimating an amount of time will not help me. If I'm going to do this once, it begins to predict, because now I know the reality. I now know it's not going to take me an hour and a half. It's probably going to take me an hour and a half to plan the task and another 2.5 hours to do the task. By doing this, I can then create templates or project management so that the next time I have to do this, rather than recreating the plan, I have a template now that I can go step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And what ends up happening is, even though I now know it's going to take me longer, with a template, I can do things faster. This is really important, because that to-do list that we've used, because we've used default behaviors, has not worked for the past 57 years, and it is not going to work going forward. Those of you that have been on these classes for a long time know about the concept that we call the cow path. If you've ever been in Arkansas or these other agricultural states, you will see these enormous farms that have, hundreds of cows. And what they do when they go back to the barn is they go back to the barn using a single cow path. We call these cow paths default behaviors. Literally, when I show you the picture in a few minutes, you'll see these ruts. And with our to-do list, I believe we've fallen into these default behaviors where, just because it's familiar, we continue to fail day after day after day. We use faulty assumptions. And so I want to create a way to fix that. So as you begin to use this, I think you'll see some of the problem areas. And as we move in, this is how we're going to fix it. This tool, the Daily Progress Report, which you can download from our tools page, is what started everything that I'm doing today. Remember, I said we needed templates. We needed things that we could do day after day after day. So this is one of the pieces that we're going to be talking about in a lot of detail. I want to show you how you can go right now and download that and make a difference. Okay, so this is the last one that we're talking about this. I've got my to-do list. I've tried to narrow it down so that I know what are my priorities that I want to accomplish. I've then estimated how long each one of these things is going to take. So let me go back to this. Remember, these are the same things that we're talking about now. I've created the to-do list. I realize that I can't do 9 hours in a day. I then now begin to prioritize them, 1, 2, 3, and I'm becoming much more aware that we have to be careful that when we say this is the number one thing that we need to do, if we have not planned it, there are not action steps that we can do. All that we can do during that time slot, that label, is plan what we need to do. So as I go back here, this is the solution. I've created a to-do list using a more formal platform. I've prioritized exactly what I want to accomplish. I know number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. That's what most people do when they put their actions into what we call the 5 before 11 list. This is where it gets super, uber, completely exciting. What would happen if you took your to-do list, you prioritized it, you knew how long each action was going to take, you knew if it was a project that you needed to break it down where you could plan and break it down into tiny steps. And we call those tiny steps, here's the key, micro actions. And that's the mistake that I made on that PowerPoint. You cannot accomplish a project. You can't do it. All I had to do was be able to plan it. The only thing we can do are micro actions, and we say that those things are anywhere from like 2 seconds to a maximum of 20 minutes. What would happen if you took your to-do list, you prioritized it, you knew exactly how long things were going to take? I'm going to clear this off. And you could, rather than come into the day saying, I've got 9.5 hours worth of work to do, you could say, what would happen if I had broken those things down into 5 high value micro actions? I had no longer walked into the day with a project list. I'd walked into the day with a to-do list that was actionable. And it was actionable because I had tiny little steps that I could write and say, now, this is the number one important thing. It's going to take me less than 20 minutes. I've already planned that. And when I walk into the office, I have a written plan of action that says, if I get these 5 things done, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I get these things done, I can say to myself, did I do what I said I would do today? Yes. And we're getting great questions from Chuck and Wanda. I'll see all of those, and I'm going to have 30 minutes of question and answer. So definitely come back with those if people have more than one project. I think what we have to do is we have to be aware that there are 24 hours in a day. If you have 15 things on your to-do list, it doesn't look so bad. When you don't know if they're prioritized, you don't know how long they're going to take. But if they're 24 hours in a day, I'd like to visually show you what that looks like. Here's a to-do, which may be a project or a humongous thing or a lunch that you think is going to take an hour, but actually takes an hour and a half. 1 task, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The 7-minute life is about being able to stop using these default behaviors where we think we can get 15 things done in 24 hours and begin to create a better time management relationship. It's not just about getting more things done. It's about becoming more realistic. And when you get the things done that are most important, where you can say, did I do what I actually did today? You can get to a point where you can say, enough. I did enough. I did enough. And I'm seeing the questions. I love it. Go ahead and put your questions in. In this class, the Essentials class, I hope that what we're seeing now is there's a lot more to the 7-minute life and our tools. And these are just a few of the tools that can revolutionize how you're spending your day. And if you get nothing more out of today, other than the fact that our to-do list that we're using now needs to be torn up. You know, it's not that you don't want a to-do list, you want a to-do list that will work. You want to be able to become realistic with that 15-minute increment tracking worksheet, because it will become self-predictive, which is a very powerful thing where you can get rid of some of these faulty assumptions, because when we say, I can get 9.5 hours worth of work done, and we don't, we feel like we've broken commitments to ourselves. And then in this class, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the daily progress report. And that's that tool that we just looked at, about how can you use a single piece of paper to create an actual daily written plan of action. So the takeaway, I think, for today is that we need a new relationship with time. One that is, realistic, which I think is important. And one of the things that we haven't even talked about today is that if your day on that 15-minute increment tracking worksheet is completely full, where do you come into the equation? Where's that place in the day where you have an opportunity? Because if you have 15 things coming into your day, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, anything that you let into your day is automatically going to knock something else out. That phone call that's urgent that you receive that ends up taking an hour and a half of your day automatically knocks out some of the other things that you need to do. And I think what it knocks out most is it knocks out you. It knocks out your ability to sleep, to exercise, to spend time with your family. It knocks out all of these things. So I can't solve all these problems today, but I'm going to give you a ton of information in this class. This is just the first class of what we're calling the Essentials class. Today, I've tried to help you understand how to create a written daily plan of action. So I've shown you what it looks like, but I haven't taught you how to do that. I wanted to create a class that was incredibly simple, that was powerful, and that could help people use this 5 before 11 list. But what I really felt like is I felt like there was a gap. People were buying our planners, they were downloading our tools, but they didn't really know how to use them. They didn't know how to use them. And I see questions, how do I download these? I'm absolutely going to take you there. So this is the cow path. In 5 minutes from now, I'm going to start answering those questions, because we have questions. That's why I created the 7-minute life. What's happened, I think, for our company and why it's changing is that we've been a company that has been pushing out great tools and great information, incredibly great information, but we have not been able to let people soak into the depths of what it is. We have not provided proper training on how to use these tools. We've talked for an hour about 3 things. A to-do list, a 15-minute increment, a daily progress report. There is no way we can absorb all of this information. It's been a great class. We're gleaning some things. But what's going to happen is that when this call is going to be over, we're going to go back to those same default behaviors. Why? Because we can't learn something in 10 minutes. We have to create new behaviors. In order to get out of that, I believe the missing link for us is training. So I've created a new class that's called the Essentials class. And here are the details. The Essentials class is going to be a ton of hours on time management training. It's going to go into a deep dive into these things. It's going to talk about this to-do list. It's going to talk about the 15-minute increment, but I'm not just going to show you what it's like. Check this out. I've created a huge 15-minute increment tracking worksheet, and we're going to take a real person with real problems, and we're going to actually go through this step by step so that it's not just learning, it's actually training. So we're going to slow it way down, which I think is so important. We're going to slow it way down. We're not just going to show you the tools, we're going to walk you through step by step by step. So I'm very excited about that. This is our first getting started class. People have asked for it. Again, our company in the past has been an outward bound. We give away a ton, and I mean a ton of free tools, and that's great. But we've been giving out information rather than taking people into a deep dive of how to use it. So it's time to get started. We want to give you that information. Today, we've talked about tearing up your to-do list. Great. I've talked to you about it, but could you really take action on it? Well, we've talked about the 15-minute increment worksheet. Can you take action on it? We've highlighted that daily progress report. But again, what's going to make this class so different is we're not just going to look at a downloadable tool. We're going to take that downloadable tool. What do I do with it? We're going to take the downloadable tool. We're going to blow it up, and step by step, we're going to talk about how you can really use this on a daily basis. And I have a great example of what I mean. I played tennis in college, and I hate to admit that that was like 35 years ago. But I've started playing in a new tennis league. Well, I meet every week because I need to sit down and learn the basics, not once, not just look at something for a week, but to do it week by week by week. And that's what's going to make this different. And it's surprising, I hope, to you to know that this class is going to be $97, which we're really excited. We don't want money to be a problem. And if you don't have one of our daily planners, or if you have one and you just want to start a new one, we're going to give you the opportunity to buy a new planner with $5 off. So this is what the class actually looks like. What we've done today will actually be on the class. We're going to do an additional, but the webinar replay is going to be on this class so that you can watch it again and again and again. That's the repetition. I've already recorded a preface of the 7-minute life. We're going to talk about how to prioritize your life. These segments are short segments. What is the 7-minute life? One of our biggest concepts is the choke point. What's the theory of the 7-minute life? So these things are already available. I'm going to take you to a different page so that you can actually see how this functions. And then I'm going to open it up to questions and answers. Okay. Let me come out of that. Come on. Okay. Quit. So just so you can see how this actually functions, when you come into the class, it looks like this. This is a course curriculum. I'm already enrolled in it. And the simplicity of this, download the course worksheets. You click on this to-do worksheet, and it downloads it for you. So you don't have to keep finding it. You click on the 15-minute increment worksheet, and it downloads it. You click on the daily progress report template, and it downloads it. So you don't have to constantly search for the things that you're looking for. You click on the video, how to prioritize and simplify your life. Video pops up.
As we continue into the process of understanding,
and immediately starts playing. So all of these pieces are here for you, and they're ready to go right now. If this is something that you have wanted to do, to be able to look at the things that we've talked about, to watch this webinar replay over and over just to get some of the basics in, to look at that, how you can use the daily progress report in great big chunks. In fact, I'm not sure if you can see this, but if I focus over there, that's my great big my great big daily progress report that we're going to be going through. I hope you can see that. We're going to spend a lot of time, probably more than an hour, on how to create your 5 before 11 list, how to understand a project versus a micro action, even how to track your daily progress and your productivity. I love neuroplasticity. We're going to go into just a short look at that. We're going to send you out with next action steps, and we're going to give you a brief overview of the planner. Now, I'm going to go back to this, and I have created a slide. If this is something you want to do, and I hope it is, then I just want you to go to the 7minutelife.com/start. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. The 7minutelife.com/start. And that's where you can buy this. It's $97. I am excited that I know most of you know that we had stopped the webinars because it was taking a lot of our time, and we felt like people still weren't giving that deep dive. And so now we've created this Essentials Time Management Training course. It's going to be over 4 hours of training. And if you want to, you can get $5 off of the planner. But remember, these recordings are going to be there, permanently. You'll be able to go back to this 4-hour training and watch them again and again and again. When you click on this, I'll just take it and click on this. It's going to take you to an order form that's going to look like this. And so when you click on the 7minutelife.com/start, it will take you here. You'll just click the Buy Now button, and you'll be able to buy the Essentials Time Management Training, get started with the 7-Minute Life, improve your time management, and increase your daily productivity. Again, the problem that we've had with all of these things is that our information has been going out to you, but we haven't given you a deep dive to learn how to use it. So now we are very excited to be able to come back to you with training. You'll have 2 opportunities on this page. You can just buy the training for $97, or if you're interested, you can just add the planner for $19.95, which will save you $5. When you go to the order form, if you'd like to, you can either just, place your order, or you can come back here, click Buy Now, and it's going to add the planner to that with a $5 discount. We're really excited. I know this is something that people have asked for a long time. This is how you can buy that. You can go to the 7minutelife.com/start to get yours. And now I'd like to open it up to questions and answers. All right, I'm going to go back to some of this. If you will, go ahead and start putting your questions in. We have about 27 minutes left, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. So make sure you go to the 7minutelife.com/start, and you can place your order there for the Getting Started class, and you'll have immediate access to it. I mean, it's already available by the end of the day. We'll have you enrolled and teachable. You'll have all the links, and you can start watching it and downloading the pieces right there. Okay, let me go backwards. All right, so people are saying, yes, this is hitting a nerve. This is exactly what happens. You better believe it. This opens my eyes. It really helps. Yes, but you can't get a handle on it. I totally get that. And then I forget to put in the travel time. It happens all the time. Yes, I'm constantly overestimating how long something's going to take. Let me see if I can show the chat now. I'm not sure if you can see the chat, but yes, constantly overestimating how long something will take, and then I get frustrated and somewhat paralyzed, so I don't get anything done. That's why we're creating this class. Is, when you go to the 7minutelife.com/start, you can buy $97. I feel like the the opportunity to do this. We've been doing this 10 years and we've never created a Getting Started class. This is super exciting. Barb says, I get so stressed, I end up shutting down. Vicki says, yes, not adding the things that drive time, etc., cause problems. We have multiple buildings and people to book appointments. It's impossible to book them both in a timely fashion. I need to start padding the meetings. You know, that's why people are downloading this. This is one of our top tools. It's a brand new tool, but something like 30% of the people that are downloading our tools are downloading this to create that predictive. Yep, underestimating. It's happening right now. I'm wondering how much longer this webinar will be so I can get to work calling me out. That's great. Amen. Yes, I have a template. This is what I need. It's a good start. Now, how to make that happen? The way we make that happen is by taking lessons. You know, I pay for my lessons. Today, I'll be there from 5:30 to 7. I'm excited about it. I have a coach. He walks me through it. It's week by week. I need that repetition. Jacob, and I'm so glad we talked the other day. We had by email. I'd love to make sure that everything happens. Jacob says, this is such extremely practical and wonderful advice. Thank you for sharing this day and what happened. The templates are like routines. Yes, the templates become the new behaviors, the new cow paths. When we begin to use these tools where we're creating realistic to-do lists, where we're still writing things down, but we're beginning to prioritize them and then write down how long they'll take. And then even then, when we begin to use this, it becomes predictive. So is the 15-minute increment worksheet meant to be filled out on computer or by hand? Right now, the research that I'm showing is that everything needs to be filled out by hand. There's something that happens between the brain and our commitments when we write things out by hand. So we have we've limited this. Actually, we have fillable copies of this, but we've chosen not to make them available. I want people to commit, to see, to understand what they've got. So no, these are meant to be filled out by hand. Chuck asked, what if you have 2 projects going that have 5 micro actions each? That's where this comes back into play. When we have 2 projects going on, we have to be really careful that we plan out how many things are going to happen, because if this is all the time I have, and obviously I have multiple projects going on, I just have to make sure that I can get them done. And that's where we're going to go into the Getting Started class, is what happens if you have people, a boss, a coworker, a husband, a wife, putting all these things on your to-do list, and they don't realize that you don't have enough time. Again, what happens to me is I end up, you know, if I haven't properly planned, I think we shut down so we get nothing done. That's what we're going to try to get out of. That's the new relationship. So that's going to be talked about in the class when we go through this. So, you know, this is what's kind of exciting, is not just hearing it on this class, but let's take an example just like Chuck. And let's take someone that says, here is my real problem. How do we fix it? And so those are perfect questions, Chuck. Thank you for that. Graham says, where do you log actual time against the plan time? All right, so this is a different sheet. The planner actually has a piece in here that we originally created for appointments. I think you can see that. This is in the daily planner, that if you sign up for the class and you want to get a new planner, you can save $5 on it. And so this is where the 5 before 11 is. We had in here an appointments section, because I created this back in 1993 originally, when we didn't have smartphones. And so if you want to be simple, you can actually put this here and you can just create that in your planner. But as you're kind of doing the training wheels piece, this is where you write down how much time you think it will take. And then on the other side is how long it actually took. So if you're planning something that you think is going to take you an hour, let's say that you have to turn in a report to your direct report, and you've scheduled an hour on this, then the question is, did it really take an hour? Did I do it when I said I would do it? Or if I planned an hour and it ended up taking me 2 hours, I can realize that anything that takes longer than I thought is automatically going to knock something else out of my day. So the next time I have to turn in that same report, I can block 2 hours on my plan. So great question. Where do you log the actual time? That's right. I see what I spent, but it seems the information is too small. These are just little bitty pieces. You may have to double up on some of those things. All of this is about accountability. So great question. So to clarify, we are to use each of these forms and transfer them next form until we have the 5 before 11 sheet completed. That's what the class is going to teach us. We don't want to end up with all of these different forms. You know, they're great, but these are the training wheels. We want to be able to end up with just one tool. So I'll be driving you through all of these pieces where it becomes that new behavior, that new cow path, where you only need one tool. And we've just never been able to teach people that. That's a great question. Are we to use these forms and transfer them to the next form until we have our 5 before 11? At first, yes, we will do that. But then as your muscle memory gets stronger and stronger, you'll be able to do it automatically. Again, if this is something, and I hope it is, that you want, all you have to do is go to the 7minutelife.com/start, and you'll be able to buy it. Jack Smith says, how do we download the daily progress report? To download the daily progress report, let's see if I can write it down. Again, this is a free tool. You go to the 7minutelife.com/tools. The 7minutelife.com/tools. I should have written that out the whole way. If you want to download the daily, let me clean that off. If you want to download the daily progress report, you can instantly go to the 7minutelife.com/tools, and the daily progress report is the first one that you'll see when you pull it up. There are 4 tools per line on the 7minutelife.com. There are 20 plus tools, and the daily progress report is right here. So you can go and download that for free. And then we see so greatly appreciate it. And then I put in, this is where you would go to buy it. That's the link to the Get Started class, the Essentials class. The 7minutelife.com/start. What is the difference between this new program and the 7-Minute Life system that you purchased 2 years ago? The 7-Minute Life system is about the theory. It's the whole theory of the 7-Minute Life. This is a deep dive into those 3 tools. It's just a complete deep dive into time management. It doesn't go into the priorities. It doesn't go into the purpose, all of those other things that are in the planner. I'll go ahead and show those too. The planner itself and the 7-Minute Life, so the 7-Minute Life system also goes in beyond the time management portion into helping people realize that they need to understand their priorities and their purpose, which is part of this. Because if we improve our time management just to be more productive, what difference does it make in our life? You know, I want to improve my time management, and this is a word I use a lot in my classes. I want to improve my time management so that I can spend more time with my family, so that I have time to exercise, to enjoy being with the people I love, with my friends, all of those things. I'm a person of faith, to be able to go to my church and be with my friends and fellowship and do all of those things. So the 7-Minute Life system goes into more detail than just the daily progress report. In this class, we're going to only be talking about how to focus on your to-do list, create a better to-do list, how to really plan your day, which is key, and then how to use the daily progress report. And this is the key tool. This is what started it all. This is what changed everything about how I manage my time. And people have bought the planner, but I don't think they really know how to use it. So that's why we've done this. $97, you know, it's just, that's why we've created it. So the system goes into much more depth on all of these. It talks about the priorities and the purpose. It goes into information on goal setting, you know, so life goals and goal setting. But that class is $297. This class is only $97. So that's the difference. And I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Malui says, awesome. I'd known all of these time management had I known all of these time management techniques, I would have eliminated stress from my life. And then the next question is, how do you correctly estimate time for tasks? And I appreciate your that statement. Let me go back to the 15-minute increment. Move this over, go back. Where was it? Oh, I think mine's filled out. Let me go back to the first one. Okay, I'll blow this one up. Whoop. This is real time. Okay. All right, so this is how I actually use the 15-minute increment to begin to plan how I'm going to function with my day. I'm going to use today as an example because that's kind of what we're doing. As you look at what today is, what time did you get up? Did you get up at 5:30? Did you get up at 6:30? Did you get up at 7? You know, at what point did you sit down at your desk? So the hard stops that I had today, obviously this is a very hard stop. It's important. It's one of the most exciting things that we've ever done. So I have this hard stop here. So 7 minutes the night before, I would write down webinar for the Getting Started Essentials class. And we have had a huge crowd today. So I would create this. This is a hard stop. At 12:30, I'll begin to work with Molly. Molly is our financial administrator. And then I have conference calls throughout the day. Now, as I'm estimating my time, this is what people would have done in the past. They would have just put webinar from 11 to 12:30. Well, that's not true. This is a label. This webinar on my smartphone is simply a placeholder. The actual time that it took is not what's on my smartphone. It's the fact that from the moment I got up this morning, I was making sure that everything was in place. So the webinar that I had shown on my calendar from 11 to 12:30 actually took all this extra preparation time. Now, luckily, I had a template. I knew exactly what things would take. I could go step 1, step 2, step 3, because we've done dozens, if not hundreds, of webinar. So that all I had to do was pull out my morning of template. But this is what we do. We look at our smartphone and you think, oh, that's only going to take an hour and a half, when it took from 8:30 to 12:30. So it wasn't an hour and a half. It was actually 4 hours. And then after I meet with Molly, it's going to take me another 2 to 3 hours to finish with all of the technology. But because I've done these so often, I already understand that every webinar I'm going to do is going to take from 6 to 8 hours. 6 to 8 hours, prep time, and then post-production time. And that's where there's a huge disconnect for most people, is that they look at their calendar. Let me clean this off. They look at their calendar and they've known for months that they have a quarterly report that's due. And let's say it's due tomorrow. So let's say it's due on 08/23/17. So on 08/22/17, you've scheduled something like this. You've said from 9 to 12, I'm going to work on this quarterly report. I've estimated that it's only going to take me 3 hours to complete it. So we've put this, when you woke up in the morning, this was now on your smartphone. And this was, remember, it was a label. So you have truly estimated, and in your own mind, you've done this in the past, and it has probably seemed to take you 3 hours. But this is such a great question. We've come in, we now have this 15-minute increment tracking sheet that is phenomenal. And we've said, okay, I've put this on my calendar. This is what I estimate it's going to take. I've done them in the past. Here's my quarterly report placeholder. Problem is, you come in thinking that you can actually use this as a to-do, but most likely this is an enormous project that needs to be planned and broken down into steps. So one of two things could happen. Even you know this is due tomorrow, you can absolutely panic and not begin to work on it because you don't have a plan. Or that's what we want to change, is that relationship. We want to change that so that you can begin to create these processes and systems. And the actual time would be put here. So however long it took you would be here. Now, the next time you have a quarterly report, you would have used this time, because you underestimated how long it would take, to create a template or a checklist for the next one. That's something you're going to be learning in this Getting Started page, is that the next time you have to do this, you're already going to have a plan. So now you just have to pull out the checklist and mark it off one thing at a time, so you're not so overwhelmed. But if that's not something that speaks to you, if you don't have those kind of big projects, let's say that you're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad. We also have a ton of retired people that are using this, which is kind of exciting. Let's say that you plan your day. I'm going to get up at 6:30. I'm going to pray or meditate. I'm going to go for a walk, whatever that is for you. I'm going to get to my office or get to my desk at 8 a.m. and I'm going to do whatever else it is. But so we plan out our days for lunch and whatever we have. But the actual time that hits is that we walk in and we have an email, or we receive a text message or a phone call. So it's just almost impossible to stick to these schedules of these labels, because we have all these urgent things coming in. So if this is something that you want to get started with, again, I don't want people to wait forever. We are very excited that this class is live. I mean, you can get started now. If this is something you want to invest in, it's $97. I mean, I don't think we could have made it any more reasonable. I'm amazed, if you're going to get 4 hours of information that you can watch over and over and over again. I can't even do the math on that, but that's like $25 an hour. And, I take tennis lessons and I pay $18 an hour for my tennis lesson, except I can't watch it again and again and again. So I pay it week after week after week, and it is worth it for me. So this is going to be on Teachable. It's going to be there forever. If these things are a problem, do not wait. Do not wait to do those things. All right. So I think I've answered that question. I appreciate the "so that" statement. I appreciate that. And then the templates you've mentioned, the estimate, then record the actual time. And for those repetitive things, I then have a previous time record. That's right. As I was saying earlier, let's say that you've said, like I did, that I was going to create those slides that I had said that I'd scheduled an hour and a half for, when it actually ended up taking me 4 hours. I then know that the next time I have to create some slides, I better schedule 4 hours to accomplish that. Now, in the class we're going to talk about, there is no way that I can pay attention for 4 hours So I'm going to have to make sure that I break this down into little pieces, and that I don't wait until the day before to get it done. You know, I need to do some pre-planning so that these things don't crush in on me. All right, thank you. Good webinar. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for clarifying. We've got about 4 minutes left. If this is something that you want to be a part of, let me get back there. Oh, I like doing that. It's a getting started class. It's going to cover 3 things: how to tear up your to-do list. It's going to go into a great piece of information on this, except we're not just going to be showing you what it is. We're actually going to be choosing some real people and walk through the process of planning, how long they think it's going to take, and then how long it actually took, and what steps we can take to make that plan in our life better. Then we're going to go through the daily progress report. We're going to teach you in depth how to use each section of this, not just the 5 before 11, but why it's important to stay connected and how to get rid of your unfinished tasks. But this is that key question is, did I do what I said I would do today? And it's different because we're going to do it with these big sheets. It's $97. And if you need a planner, you can save $5 when you buy the class as well. It's going to go through Teachable, so you'll be able to look at these recordings day after day. You'll be able to go back to them a quarter from now or a year from now. And like my tennis lessons that I do every week, you'll be able to go back to this, but you won't have to pay for it again. You will always have access to this. And so you've seen the training format, and here's where you go and buy that. Now I'm seeing some questions that have come up in the Q&A, which I had not looked at. An anonymous attendee, once we finish the assessment, what will it test for? That's a great question. The assessment that you've taken today will be used again at the end of the class. So after you've finished the entire Getting Started class, you can then go back and reassess where you are. It's going to be one of those things that you can, look at and say, okay, here's where I started. And when I finish the class, I can come back and say, hey, I've improved on these things, I've improved on these things, but here's some areas that may still need some work. You can go back to those sections in the class and try to rework through some of those things. Ooh, and this is a great question from Nancy. She says, when you do get the emails that take over your morning, what do you suggest? Sticking to your list or changing it? What a perfect question. Let me go back to what we were just talking about. And I know we're going to only have about 2 minutes, so I want to go back to those 2 things. But as I go back to the piece that I just created, Nancy, I think, well, actually, I'm going to go to a different page. Nancy, I think you are what a great, perfect question as we close up here. The 5 before 11, the reason we have to be really careful of what we let into our life is that, we have 9.5 hours as I used on this to-do list. We obviously can't get it done. The emails are going to come in and they are urgent and often have to be dealt with first. That's why when I walk into the office on that day, I want to at least have narrowed down everything that I think I need to do into at least 5 high-value activities, because even if I can accomplish 5 micro actions that take less than 20 minutes to start and completely finish, less than 20 minutes, at least I know that if I accomplish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiny things, if I just did that for 1 week, 7 days times 5 micro actions, I would have still moved forward by 35 steps. That's a really big number. So when the email comes in, we need to then, now that I've said that, we need to then go back to our 15-minute increment working sheet and now begin to, well, I guess over here, the actual time, now begin to track how long our emails take. So you can look that, yes, I've planned to do this in this period of time, but an email came in, it was urgent, it knocked out this task, And so we can begin to track how long our email takes. And my guess is it probably takes between 2 and 4 hours of our day. And remember, anything that comes into our day automatically knocks something out. So we can use this tool to become predictive. We can't not do our email, but we need to become more realistic about how that works. And the only way that we can do that is to actually track how long it takes. And when we become more realistic, and that's what this Getting Started class is about, when we become more realistic, we create an entirely new relationship with time. You know, we're very limited on how much time we are, but we somehow think we can get it all done. And when we make commitments to get it all done, but email jumps in and other projects, when we don't get it done, we feel like we've broken commitments to ourselves, and it becomes that painful, and we lose that so that. Instead of being able to say, I've gotten to enough, I've improved my time management so that I can spend time focusing on my faith, so that I can spend time with my family. So we have to make sure that we're actually tracking for that. All right, so let me go back, and I'm seeing another great question. I'm going to go back to this page so that you're still, and we still have a ton of people on the call. I want to make sure that you know where to go to buy the planner. We're almost 1 minute over, but if this is something for you, and I think it is, we've never done it before. All of our tools have been outward bound, where we've given them away for free, and you've had them, but you hadn't known how to use them. So we're super excited to have the essentials training now. We're giving you that deep understanding, that deep dive. If this is something for you, we want you to go to the 7minutelife.com/start and buy yours. And then I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I think it's Malui. Says, I'm located in Ghana, West Africa. Do you have to ship to Africa when I order a planner, or alternatively, what about digital copies? I'm going to go ahead and answer that as we close up. So I'm going to come back to that. That's a great question for our international. And then the last question that I have is, I missed the first part of the webinar. Does the training cover breaking down projects into smaller projects less than 20 minutes? And then will the webinar be available to view later if we do not purchase the training immediately? Yes. This webinar, this is kind of the first introduction into this. This class will be the preview video. So this is the only part of the Essentials training class that will be the preview video, and absolutely you'll have access to this. And in the class itself, we'll be talking about how to break those things down into those 5 before 11. Huge, perfect question. So Malawi, if you are international, we have a ton of international people. Let me go here, and I can show you how to order the planner in a digital version. And we're having a couple more questions come in. You're right about underestimating. And it says, I've been adding to my calendar travel time for a meeting. It's taken a good bit of stress off. All right, so Malawi, here's how you can actually go and purchase the planner. See if you can still see my screen. You're going to go to the 7minutelife.com, and you're going to go to our store, which is where our products are. And you will see a downloadable version of the planner. We've created this for people that want a bigger size. This is an 8.5 by 11, and it is downloadable. And because it's downloadable, it can be downloaded anywhere in the world. So what you would do is click on the downloadable planner. It is 8.5 by 11 inches. So if this is a book that really can't be shipped internationally, or it's like $62 because it has to go through customs. If you want a larger version, 8.5 by 11, that's on plain paper, it's larger, it gives you more room to write. It is actually predated, so you can choose the start date, and the PDF of the downloadable daily planner is instantly available, and you can choose the binding of your choice because it'll just be downloaded to you. And so you would come here, you just click add to cart, you would buy the downloadable daily planner, and then I'll give you an example of what happens when you do that. I'm going to just put in my own info at the 7-minute life, and this is automated.com, and I'm going to put today's start date, and literally you'll be taken to that page, and when you put in your email and your the day that you want it to start on, it will instantly be shipped to you. So let's see if that's come in. I've turned my email off. And so it'll instantly come to you, and let me download this so that you can see what it is. You can also just click download and the planner comes up. So it is an instant download for those of you that actually want to download it. And so this now has a start date, and it'll have your information, whatever you've put in. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit more. Sorry, I'm making myself dizzy even. So when you get to the actual daily planner pieces, there we go. Even the calendars in this are dated because it starts with the start date. Close your eyes until I get to the daily progress reports. And then the daily progress reports are also pre-dated for you. And then you'd have every day for the next 90 days. So yes, the planner is downloadable and instantly available for those of you that live out of the country, or if you're just interested in buying the downloadable planner so that you can download it day by day. This is 200 and, let's see how many pages it is. The downloadable planner is the same. So it's like 270 pages. And most people get it and just print it a week at a time or a day at a time. So back to your question is, if you want to buy the planner, the downloadable version, you can go to the 7minutelife.com, click on store, and you'll find the downloadable planner versus the printed planner, which if you buy the printed planner today with the class, you'll get a $5 discount. So instead of $24.95, that'll only be $19.95. But if you live overseas, you can just click the downloadable daily planner. It's an 8.5 by 11. Click add to cart, and you'll be sent instructions on how to fill that out. I've already bought it. So it's only $29.97. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I think we've had a great class. There are still a lot of people on the class. It's been amazing. I hope that those of you that have been coming to the 7-Minute Life for a long time, we appreciate the thousands and thousands of people that have been part of the 7-Minute Life journey. It's really changing. We're happy to have you just come to the website and to download our tools. But I really want those tools to start changing people's lives. I want to have that big transformation where instead of having that sense of complete overwhelm, of living in procrastination, of dealing with all of those distractions without being aware, we want to help you have the tools and the training so that your life can be better. So our tagline is that we're the 7-Minute Life, a time management company for people who are overwhelmed and want to create a life with meaning. I'm Allyson Lewis, founder of the 7-Minute Life. I'm delighted that you were here today. This recording will be available as the preview of this class. It's the only class that will be previewed. And so I'm glad you were here today, and I hope that you will take advantage of this class, buy the class, get involved, and I'll see you in the next videos as you go into Teachable. Thanks for being here today. Bye-bye.